No, the internet has a little bit of an issue, so I hope that this is coming through okay. I hope that you're having a great week so far. It is already June. I can't believe, I can't really wrap my head around how 2020 has just gone by so quickly. And I recall being on a live chat here with you guys every year saying how fast time flies. But I'm sure a lot of you would agree that 2020 so far, with the pandemic and quarantine and so many things coming to a standstill and not being able to travel or really go very many places, it does feel like a lot of time has gone without us actually doing anything or achieving anything, or maybe we've had to put our plans and maybe a little bit of your goals on hold. So I hope that whatever it is that you are feeling okay with where you are in your life right now. And today's topic is about the challenges that you are facing, because I feel like for a lot of the live chats, especially last week, I talk so much, practically spent the entire hour just talking, and I missed so many of your comments. So today I want to be able to take the time and focus more on reading your comments. And so today's topic is, what are you not exactly happy with in your life right now, and how can you change that? What kind of challenges are you facing when you're watching this right now that you would want some perspective on, or just to unload? Feel free to write in the comments. I promise you that I will be reading the comments today and doing my best to answer or just give my perspective on what it is that you're going through. Okay, so hi to everybody saying hi. Hi Jimmy, hi Flora, hi Yang, hi Patrick, hi Sampada. It's so good to see familiar faces. I feel like we are sort of friends. I mean, I feel like we are friends, not sort of, even though we've never met. And I hope that these weekly live chats do bring some kind of routine that is a comfort in a way, because I know that when I do these live chats, and it gives me a lot of joy to be able to connect with you. So today is about you. What questions do you have? Hi Gage, not sure how to pronounce your name, but it is about you guys tonight. And what challenges are you facing in your life right now that you hope to change, and would you like some perspective on it? Feel free to ask away. Or if there's anything in your life right now that you feel that you're not very happy about, and you feel like it can't continue this way because it's just not a very pleasant way to live. So I feel like in today's society, it can be hard to actually talk to people about what we're going through, purely because maybe we fear judgment, or maybe we just don't feel comfortable just telling our friends about our feelings, or even our family sometimes. So I hope that these live chats are a way for you to be able to talk among stranger friends, right? Where we're not meeting face to face in real life, and everybody has limited information on who everyone else is. Yet at the same time, there's this comfort and familiarity amongst this community that I hope that it's safe for you to be able to express what you're going through, right? Hi to Tuck, Wanyi, Orang, Danielle, Kathy, Michelle. Hi, mommy. Talk here says, your book to me is a life-changing thing. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you enjoy reading the book. I know I've shown you guys so many times now. This was published in August 2019, last year. And for me, everything in there has changed my life. So everything I put in here has been life-changing for me. The practices in there are 72 practices, and these are lessons that I didn't learn in school. These are lessons that nobody taught me, and these are except for my mom, and you'll understand what I mean when you read the book. But these are lessons that I've had to learn, and a lot of them the hard way, and a lot of them just by like the desire to change what I'm unhappy with in my life. And I can tell you guys, right, like I make videos on being happy always, not because like I have the perfect life or that I'm always happy. I make these videos because I feel like I want to be able to be happy always, and I feel like there are so many things in my life that takes away my happiness, whether it's other people, whether it's like working with them is a challenge, or maybe it's my own frustration and anger, and my maybe, you know, like maybe sometimes I feel insecure or whatever it is, it makes it hard for me to be happy. And so when I make these videos, they're actually my own reflections on what I want to change and how can I grow to be happy. Right? Michelle, I'm so glad you love watching the live videos. It gives me so much joy to be able to come on here. So like knowing that you guys enjoy these live videos where I'm basically just sitting here chatting, just gives me so much like fulfillment and joy. So thank you so much. So if you've just joined us, we're just taking a lot of your comments today. And if you have any questions on like what you are feeling frustrated or unhappy about in your life right now, and you would like to change that, and you're facing some sort of challenge or difficulty, feel free to share and I'll offer my perspective. BB here says, can you tell us how we can teach others to not have so much expectations from others? Can you tell us how to teach ourselves to not have so much expectations from others? BB, I think you should read my book, because chapter 2 talks a lot about expectations, and I even have like expectation circles to explain how we cannot expect from other people and why. And I myself went through this process, and this is why I wrote everything about expectations here, because I find that I didn't know that it was my expectations that was actually making me so unhappy in my relationship with Yuri especially, and also actually towards like just anytime I got upset with people, and I felt frustrated. I actually didn't understand, or I had no idea that it was because I had expectations. I actually didn't even know what expectations mean. I initially, in my 20s, I thought that expectations were standards, you know, like expectations are such a great thing, because it indicates that I have high standards. So it took me like a few years to actually learn the difference between like standards versus expectations, and how standards are great because they are our own guiding principles, and when it actually translates into expectations, it's when we impose or project our standards, which is actually meant for ourselves to guide ourselves, and we project that onto other people, and especially people we love and also people we work with. Right? And this is why when I talk about expectations, it's not just about like, understanding the definition of expectations. You know, a lot of what is in my book has a lot to do with understanding and awareness. Like we have to be aware of what our perspective is. And we also have to understand how our mind works, because a lot of the times we find ourselves saying that, this person have no common sense, or don't you know any better? And that gets us really upset, right? Because whether it's your partner or whether it's somebody at work doing something that you think is completely like insane or ridiculous, you're like, don't you already know, right? And it gets us really frustrated. And so yeah, I like read chapter 2. I mean, like, read the entire book, but when it comes to expectations, chapter 2 has a lot of gems in here about expectations. Okay, let's see. Hi James, hi Stephanie, hi Giselle, hi Alex. Wani says, I always can't decide what to choose for everything. Keep hesitating and comparing. I hope I can improve this part. You know, Wani, I think that you're probably not alone in feeling this way. A lot of us are not able to make decisions because of fear. And I think that the fear comes from not really understanding that like our life as it is right now, it's already perfect. And what I mean by that is that, the fact that we are born into this world, I feel like we are already enough. But a lot of our fears stem from needing to prove how great our life is, needing to make a mark on this world. A lot of our fear comes from needing to be respected, needing to be accepted, needing to be loved, needing to be making the right decision. So when we work backwards, why are we so afraid of making the wrong decision? And when we ask ourselves why, and we go down the branches of whys, I call it a branch because trees it's like there are many branches, and when we want to understand ourselves better, I think we have to go like very deep inside and keep asking ourselves like why. And so each branch leads to another why and another why. And so when I just look at the broad spectrum of why are we so afraid to make the wrong decisions, I think it has a lot to do with our feeling of failure and our need for relevance and acceptance and love. And I feel like this is why I say that we have to believe that we're enough, because if not, a lot of our decisions are driven by fear, or our indecisions are driven by fear, Okay, I'm going to read more comments. I can be taking, okay, so hi to everybody saying hi. Hi Joyce from the Philippines, Miran from Singapore. Hi Peter. Hi Jason. Okay, so Michelle, yes, you can buy my book in Australia. I think it's in Dimmocks, but you can also get it on Amazon. And you can get the audiobook on Audible as well, or you can get the book on Book Depository. So you can click on the link in my caption. Sampada, I'm glad that you find the videos inspiring. Hi Sophia. Natalie. Katerina. I'm glad you love my content. Matthew, thank you. Ephraim, I hope I pronounced your name right. If not, I'm sorry. Sometimes I have a hard time trusting people. I feel like that's again a question that we have to ask. We have to go down the branches of why. I guess like a lot of what I go through with understanding myself, there is always a priority. So I think that whatever that you are writing today and sharing, like whether it's your fears or whether it's some insecurity, and whether it's like a need, I feel like number one, you're normal. You're not the only person who feels this way. And number two, I think that for me, what has really benefited me is going on the journey to understand myself better. And so when I say understand myself better, like I don't want to judge myself. I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want to feel bad about me being the way I am. And so I want to be able to be okay with who I am, because when I'm okay with who I am, I feel like I can go down the journey of understanding and reflecting better, like understanding myself better, because I'm not defensive. And last week, if you joined my live chat, you would have heard me talk about how when we are judgmental or critical of ourselves, we get defensive of ourselves. What that translates into is that we stop reflecting, because it's just so painful and it's just so difficult. So I think like self-acceptance helps us remove that barrier. We remove the fear of understanding ourselves, if that makes sense. Yeah. Virginia, I feel the same way in my relationship right now with my expectations I have from my boyfriend. I understand now that my standards are not the same as other people's standards. Yeah, I think that's so true. And if you don't have the book yet, you must read this. I'm not like promoting the book to you. Like, I feel like this book is not written like for marketing. This book is it's everything that I learned, like I said, I learned and currently practice in my life, to be happy, to overcome problems. The subtitle is Overcoming Life's Challenges and Living Each Day with Joy. So that's my practice. And when you talk about relationships, like, I think this will be really helpful just as like a guiding principle, Top here asks, what should you do when you're in uncertainties with your date? Should we clear things up? I feel like I'm the one forcing things to go the way I want. I think communication is really important. I think that we sometimes underestimate the importance of just asking someone, are you comfortable with this? What are you thinking? I was just reading a book, which is actually a novel, and it was like a romance, and it's really fun. But the protagonist is autistic, and it's high spectrum autism. So this is what was formerly known as Asperger's syndrome, but now people just call it like autism, like high functioning autism. And with people who are autistic, like I'm sure you either have friends or you have family members, or maybe you are also autistic. And I feel like it's not a taboo thing, and it's not negative in any way. But what I appreciate is that like it helps us understand people so much more. Like, just in this novel, reading about, it's a fiction, but it describes like autism so well. Like these people, a lot of people who are autistic work in very high level careers and professions, like doctors, engineers, mathematicians, economists, because they're so smart and so good with numbers, high functioning autism. But in this sense, when you're having a relationship, like Cindy here says, I have Asperger's. So we're having a relationship with someone who has Asperger's, like I think we need to communicate so much more. And what I've learned in reading this is that even for like people with no, like who have no autism and no Asperger's, I think it's so important, like even for me and Yuri, to communicate with each other in the sense of telling each other like, oh, I was really uncomfortable because this happened, or I like, why did you do this? Like, oh, I actually prefer not to have that. And the communication has to be so clear. I don't like to be like, sometimes you don't like people touching you or whatever it is, and you have to be able to like verbalize this, right? And there's no, like, we have to learn how to accept ourselves. There's like no real normal, you know what I mean? Like Cindy here says, I'm a high functioning Asperger's girl. I know how torturing it is. Yeah, because society has defined normal a certain way, and everybody else interacts on this like, oh, I need to be able to read your cues, I need to be able to kind of like deduce from your behavior. And a lot of people with Asperger's or autism cannot deduce like what, I mean, they can deduce, but it's different from what everybody else deduces, you know what I mean? So in a way, like in a relationship or with like even a coworker, we would think that people deduce things the way we deduce things, like, oh, if I'm angry, then you would be able to understand that I'm angry. But a lot of people with Asperger's don't actually understand that you're angry, or that when you're quiet. Like my friend's boyfriend has Asperger's, and when she's quiet and she's just happily walking down the street because she's enjoying the moment, he gets really upset or uncomfortable because he can't deduce that she's having a good time. Like to him, silence means unhappy, and so they had to learn to communicate like, oh, when I'm quiet, it doesn't mean I'm upset with you. You have to be like so detailed. Regina, he says the link to your book is not working. Oh, I'm so sorry. If you go to like my Facebook wall anywhere, like any videos, you'll be able to see the link. So, or you can just Google Be Happy Always by Xandria and it'll pop up. Same question as Floor. Okay, let me see. I am going to go through all your questions, so I may not go through them like sequentially. So yeah, just let you know. So since I'm here, Floor, how can I control myself not to get angry with my daughter? She's 13 and so stubborn. I think that it's not about controlling yourself, Flora. I think it's a lot about understanding why you get frustrated. On the surface, it will seem like it's because she's doing something wrong, or she's stubborn, or she's difficult. And I remember like just dinner a few days ago, I was telling my brother, and this was in relation to employees and employers, right? And I was interviewing this man who talks about like getting the best out of his employees, and he talks about building them up and supporting them and rewarding them. And I was asking him, but a lot of people feel like when you're too nice, then people will take advantage of you, right? So how do you handle that? And he goes, I'm nice and I'm firm at the same time. And so then when I was talking to my brother about this, my brother was saying that it depends on the staff, right? Some staff are easier to handle than others, and undeniably, people are all different, and some are easier to get along with just because you have very similar values and beliefs and philosophies and standards, you know, like chemistry, right? But I was saying to my brother, you know, whether or not the relationship between your employer and employees is good or not good, it doesn't depend on the employee, it depends on the employer, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because in relationships like with parent and child, you know, obviously there are kids who are more difficult than other kids, even your own kids, right? If you have more than one kid, you can see that they are very different. And some kids get along with their parents better simply because of like chemistry and yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what it is, right? Like personality. But then there are kids who have very different chemistry with their parents and maybe the personality clashes and things like that, right? But regardless, it is not, whether or not the relationship is good or not good, or healthy or not healthy, or loving or not loving, it doesn't depend on the child, it depends on the parent. And I talk about this with like my mom too and Yuri, you know, because I was just thinking that a child will react because they don't know any better, but they will learn. But how do they learn not to react? They don't learn it in school. Kids don't learn how to not react in school. They learn math and science and history and all that. So we don't learn it in school. So as adults, if we are not consciously practicing understanding ourselves and learning our triggers and identifying our frustrations, then we will also always react. And when it comes to kids, right, I feel like parents have a job that is so challenging, where not only do you have to be responsible for another human being, you have to be a better person along the way, because who you are influences how your kids turn out, you know? And so when it comes to parenting, I'm not a parent and I don't have kids. When you look at it across the board, right? When your child is extra difficult, it just means that it takes extra effort for you to practice patience. It takes extra effort for you to practice letting go, right? Because when you think about it, if you have a child who is disabled, for example, it's also difficult to take care of the person, right? So you as a parent, you may not be equipped to do that, you as a human being, but when your child is disabled, you have to really step up and learn all the skills ASAP. And so, you know, Flo, let's see. Is it Floor? Yes, I hope you're still listening. And I hope like what I'm saying so far makes sense, and that like whatever it is, the long answer is that, but the short answer is who we are today really shapes and defines who our children turn out to be. And I say this without having children, fully aware that it's very difficult to be responsible for another human being and be so responsible for our own growth at the same time. But it's never more urgent for us to know how to be patient, how to understand our frustration, how to not react. And it's not just for your children, it's for yourself, you know, like how we are at work, how we solve problems at work, and how we solve problems in our family, right? It's the same. If we are not able to not react and not be triggered at work, then we're not able to not react and not be triggered at home. So we cannot control ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, we always have the illusion that we are able to control ourselves. But this is an illusion, you know? You are who you are. We can't control life. However, we have the power to be fully aware of how we are in that moment. Whatever you are feeling is real. If you are feeling frustrated, it's real. Don't judge yourself for it. If you're feeling impatient, it's real. Don't judge yourself for it. You're human, right? What we want to be able to do is be aware when we are feeling frustrated, when we are feeling impatient, when we are feeling angry. Because if we're not aware in that moment, not hindsight, not aware after the incident and when you look back, that's hindsight. I'm talking about being aware when you are actually feeling impatient and you are actually feeling stressed and frustrated. This is our own responsibility, right? To care for ourselves, in a sense, like to look at our emotions and go, you know what, I'm feeling this way. Just to be aware of that and acknowledge it. Because when you are surrounded with people you love, what we don't want is for this emotion to come out and react and hurt the people around us, and then we feel bad after, right? So it's our responsibility to be able to be aware of how we're feeling right now. And I tell you, it genuinely helps when we remove guilt from the equation. Stop feeling guilty for feeling bad, right? At the end of the day, we just need to be able to identify what we are feeling, so then we can strategize and brainstorm and determine how can we change that? How can we let go of the frustration? How do we become a more patient person, right? And if you want to you want to practice happiness and you want to practice letting go of your impatience and frustrations, and you want to be a less angry person, do my happiness program. It's a 30-day program. Every day there's a tool for you to practice. And if you want to practice, this is perfect for you and your kids, or you or your spouse, or you with your parents, because in 30 days, every day you're practicing something that is incredibly positive, and it really helps you be aware of how you're feeling right now. And there's a tool that I give every day, and there's a worksheet that you go through. So it's a very aware kind of practice, and everything in there, it's how I help myself grow, because I'm also a very impatient person. I get easily frustrated, and I don't want to be like that anymore, because I feel like not only does it hurt the people around me who I love, but it also reduces my happiness. It reduces my joy, right? So it just can't go on like that. That's me, right? See, Cindy here says, I know that everything has to be detailed and broken down into very small steps and many practices, then I'll be able to learn stuff or even understand stuff. And it does take a lot of patience and time and many tries. That's exactly what learning is. In school, we do the same thing. Elaine here says, I would feel helpless and unhappy when I try my best, yet the external pressure is still there. And yeah, you're human, right? So when we try our best, sometimes we are not happy with the results. And this is why I think we have to be able to give a lot of understanding towards ourselves, right? The acceptance. Yeah. Read the book, Elaine. Michelle here asks, I often have a hard time communicating with other people without being misunderstood, even though my intention was good. And oftentimes people judge and mock. Oftentimes being judged and mocked by other people, even if I didn't do anything bad to them. How can I handle this kind of people? I think, Michelle, you need to be able to understand yourself. Why do you find it hard to communicate with people? I was just talking about Asperger's and high-functioning autism, because I find it incredibly fascinating how we're all human and we have different levels of understanding for different things. And so I've been listening to so many podcasts about people who have Asperger's, and it's interesting in how they can't tell when somebody is being upset. They sometimes cannot tell sarcasm. They everything is very literal, and so then other people will look at them socially awkward, or they'll judge them or mock them. But it's because they behave in a different way than a lot of other people, and so other people can only see them through their own lens. And so when people misunderstand you and things like that, it's because they don't understand you. And the job is not trying to get them to understand you. The job It's that you need to learn how to understand them, right? And sometimes understanding that you don't understand someone, it's good enough because you're giving acceptance to the person. Now, if the miscommunication results in like a dire problem, like say it's work, then talk to the person and be transparent and genuine in it. You know, that's like communication. That's the best solution. And how to communicate, like chapter 3, it's really helpful in learning how to communicate with people we find difficult. Yeah. Minjin, I want to love myself more, but how do I start? Read the book. So much of it has to do with self-respect and self-love. There are actually 2 kinds of contents. There's content by chapter, content by title, and content by subject. And in content by subject, there's a whole section on self-love. And it's not something that, self-love is not something that you develop like tomorrow, right? And it's not something that once, you know, you hear me say something and you're going to have the epiphany and you can like love yourself more. Self-love has to do with so many deep layers of understanding. And it starts with being non-judgmental and being able to accept ourselves. Yeah. Ephraim says, I have a friend who has a younger brother who is autistic. He used to be bad-tempered and impatient, but after dealing with his younger brother, he became more understanding and compassionate towards people. It's really an eye-opener that people could be a better person. Yes, exactly. Tompok, I'm so glad that you enjoyed this. Okay, so whose question have I not answered? Michelle, you're most welcome. It's my pleasure. I hope that it makes sense. Really read this. I feel like it will really help. But also just to be able to understand yourself better and read more about like like, do you feel socially awkward sometimes? Do you feel like you always say the wrong thing? Do you feel like you don't understand when people are joking? Do you feel like you don't understand why people are upset at you? Like, you need to like understand yourself. Like when you feel like this, right? Like a lot of people who have Asperger's or high level or high functioning autism feels like that. And when I talk to people, I realize like a lot of people relate to these things as well. So it's not about whether you have autism or whether you have Asperger's. It's about like, and in the spectrum, where do you lie? You know what I mean? Maybe we have a little bit of that, right? And so I think we have to stop judging ourselves, and I think we have to really take the effort to understand ourselves. Yeah. Ron, you're not late. This is still going on, and you can always watch the live chat again. Let's see. Jordan here says, with all that's happening in 2020, I see myself more and more likely to react to posts or comments online which are disrespectful, bullying others, or being rude, and I try to talk sense to change the situation. At the end of the day, I feel myself getting more and more tired of dealing with people. What would be a better approach? Jordan, I hope that you are still watching. This is exactly what Yuri and I talked about recently in our live chat and in private as well. Like, we talk about this, right? And I actually want to make a video about this, because when I see something online that I don't agree with, I feel like there's this instinct to respond and try to like educate the person, right? Like you, right? You want to be able to talk sense into people to change the situation. Now, I've thought about this, and I don't ever comment when I don't agree with a person's post. And I tell you why. It's not because I don't feel like commenting. I recognize this urge to want to, like, sometimes we post things that are like incredibly rude, you know, like so racist and or like completely unwoke and hurtful, and yeah, it borders on bullying, and I have my opinions on those things, right? And so there is this urge to actually respond. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know, Xandria, I have to understand myself better. And so this is why, like, I want to understand why I feel this way. Okay, is it because I don't agree? Yes, I don't agree with what you're saying. Okay, so what if I don't agree with what you're saying? How does me responding or commenting back change anything? So a lot of the times, I think we flatter ourselves too much in thinking that we can change somebody's opinion based on facts, based on what we think is logical. Now, when I say that I think we flatter ourselves this way, it's because the intention is always to add positivity or add some kind of like dialogue, right? We want to educate someone. And it comes from a good place, right? A place of stopping bullies and whatever not. However, when I think like, if I'm going to write a comment, how am I educating that person? Right? I have to look and understand myself. A part of it is my ego, where I feel like, oh, maybe I should, that you want to teach the person a lesson, you know, like how can they say such things? It's terrible, right? And so then I want to be aware if I am exhibiting any hate the hater syndrome. You know, if let's say they are hating on people and I don't agree with it, with my comment, am I also hating on them? You know what I mean? And I have to ask myself, this is why I need to understand myself better. Do I have judgment towards this person? Or do I just believe in something different? Now, I feel like when I put up a comment and I try to like change someone's perspective, I need to ask myself, how effective will I be in changing the bully's perspective? Or somebody who, you know, I don't agree with. Am I able, like logically, am I able to change their perspective? And am I able to educate them the way I want to educate them? And I hope that they can change their mind. How effective would that be? I need to ask myself, what is my objective for writing this comment? What is my objective of trying to teach someone this thing? And a lot of the times when I look at this desire to write and to comment and to teach someone, it comes from the ego. I feel the need, I feel this righteous anger. And I recognize this within myself, and I'm like, hey, you know what, Xandria, this is completely unproductive, and you're just pandering to your own ego. And because at the end of the day, if I genuinely want to do something good, I genuinely want to educate, and I genuinely want to contribute positivity, then I will take up the responsibility of writing a post that I feel can help educate, right? I will make a video that I feel like can help educate. You know, I will figure something out, start a movement, start a campaign, talk to my friends and family about it. I feel like all of us can add positivity and can, like if you see bullies on the internet and you see people making racist comments and you see negativity and you feel triggered, right? Like, don't let your ego allow you to be so triggered that you want to add, yeah, you know what, that's terrible, and then you're adding, and in a way, you are being judgmental of the person who is judging. So if you don't like somebody hating on someone, but when you're commenting, you have to be very aware that you're also not hating on the person. Then you have the hater syndrome, right? And so what you can do instead is take the action to create positivity somewhere else, on your own platform, with your own family. Open up dialogues at work, create a community, really take the responsibility to do something, right? When we say like, oh, we just want to share our thoughts, like Gamala says, when you respond, it's more to share your thoughts. Yeah, some people respond just to share their opinions. But if you don't agree with somebody's post and you feel triggered, you will know that feeling, right? Whether you're just sharing or you feel triggered. Because if somebody disagrees with what you say, will you then feel triggered and then you have to reply back to defend yourself? Then where is that going to go? Then it becomes a long ass debate, right? And so I don't think, like, this is me personally, for my own actions, me and Yuri, we both don't think it's worth the mental and emotional time and space to try to correct somebody or try to educate somebody or try to like teach someone a lesson. No need, right? Because they are not going to learn anything from my comment. Honestly, they're just going to be defensive. So what's my objective? My objective is to create positivity and help change and give perspective, but that's not happening, right? Because when I'm writing with the best intentions, the person is not going to receive it like, oh wow, a bully is not going to think, oh wow, such an insightful comment, let me change myself. A bully is not going to think that. They'll be like, they'll just like ignore it, or they'll like rebut it, right? And then it becomes a long nasty debate. And so when I feel the urge to actually do something, I think to myself, Xandria, I think there needs to be value in what you want to contribute, right? Like Yuri, for example, he recently wrote a few posts on Facebook. Instead of rebutting or putting his opinion on other people's posts, he wrote a series of his own thoughts down, which made sense and is helpful and gives value to people. That is real education. That is real contribution. That is real positivity. It's not adding more noise. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that that long answer makes sense. Jimmy, that's great. Okay, just reading your comments. Definitely that's a great answer. Nadia here says, I know you're absolutely right about self-love, but it's really hard to not be self-judgmental and critical to myself lah. Sometimes need a slap of cold water when I look in the mirror and just go, meh. Nadia, I completely understand what you say. And I wrote a couple of posts on this. If you go to my Instagram, which is an easier place to just like, because it's like an album, right? If you go to my Facebook, it's there as well, but you have to scroll. So go to my Instagram and read like the first 2 photo posts, and I talk about this self-criticism and judgment. And it's hard, I know, to not judge ourselves. However, like in my book, right, a lot of the practices are hard. However, but if you start from the first page, the foundation is strong. And so non-judgment cannot change unless we understand certain things, right? We need to be able to learn how to not feel guilt and why. We need to learn to accept ourselves and how. Because judgment comes from all the lack of that, Jordan, he says the long answer made a lot of sense. I'm so glad that you think it makes sense, because these are not things that I talk to my friends about really, because I think everyone, like when I see people responding and stuff, I think it's cool. I think that like everyone just does what they want to do. And I also feel tempted, to like add my voice to it. And I have to like really stop myself and evaluate, and then really, and Jordan, like I feel like this is such a great practice because it helps. I don't know about you, but when I do it, it helps me understand my ego better. It helps me understand my objectives better. I'm constantly asking myself, Xandria, what's your objective? Xandria, what's your objective? And what really helps me is when I ask myself these questions, right? I automatically go, is my objective my ego? Am I doing this so that I feel superior? Am I doing this so that I feel satisfied? Am I doing this because I feel justified, right? And all of this is, or am I doing it because I genuinely want to help change, that I genuinely want to help contribute, right? So what's my objective again? This is in the 4th week of my happiness program. I ask myself this question all the time. Everything in my happiness program I practice incessantly, and I find that like it helps so much, especially when it comes to like just knowing whether I am being driven by my ego or whether I am being driven by like a higher cause. I feel like a lot of the times when I feel like I know better, or that that person's comment was stupid, or like, oh, that person is so uncouth or so rude or whatever it is, and I feel like I want to say something about it, I need to like really ask myself, like, hang on, what's my objective again? If I really want to get someone to change, will making that comment, or will like replying to this person's comment, will that really make them change? Will it help them change? You know, because if not, if helping someone change is my objective, but I'm just, rebutting someone's comment and they're not changing, it just means that I'm not meeting my objective, right? Then I'm just pandering to my ego. Like, I just want to feel smart, right? Like, I just want to talk about something that I feel like I know a lot of, right? So I don't want to do that. And it's interesting when you ask yourself, like, why do I feel so triggered by stupid people? Like, why? And when you really go down the path of asking yourself, you'll be able to see your ego being in the driver's seat. It is making you feel like you are right. It's making you feel like you are more superior. And the anger, the righteous anger that you feel at other people for behaving so stupidly, that righteous anger is a sign that it is linked to your ego. If not, like, without the ego in place, you'll just be like, oh, that was not cool, that was not acceptable, that's not how I would do things. And then you will figure out how to create a community, or create positivity, or make changes to your life, or help your family members, go down a path that is healthy and better for them, right? Whatever that you believe, right, perpetuate that. Don't need to go and argue with other people or educate other people. Don't need. Spend all your time instead on perpetuating your beliefs and your principles and your values to the people around you, whether it's at work, your family, or even on your own platform, right? Hi, Josh. Oh my God, Josh, I miss you so much. Joshua Wong here is one of our best friends, and he was actually Yuri's best man during our wedding. Patrick, thank you. I think I saw your comment earlier, and like when I was scrolling, so I'm really glad that you wrote it again. Have you read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? If you have, how do you think it helps with happiness? You know what? Josh, stop distracting me. Patrick, I have to confess, and I've mentioned this a few times before, that I don't actually read non-fiction. So I read a ton of books because I grew up in a bookshop, but I read fiction only, fantasy and sci-fi to be exact. I love magic. So I have not read Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. However, Yuri has read it, and Yuri is the opposite of me. He loves non-fiction. So he's read 7 Habits, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Power of Now, Byron Katie's book. I mean, he's read so many. He's reading Thich Nhat Hanh's book right now. And so I do know about the book, and I do know some principles in the book just because, Yuri shared them with me. And I think, based on what I know on The Power of Now, I feel like just being able to be present is happiness, right? So I can't comment any further than that because I have not read the book. I feel like a lot of what I talk about when it comes to happiness has a lot to do with my own self-examination and my own practice and experiments, right? And yeah, I feel like it makes sense that the more present we're able to be, the more grateful we are. It's like, I really believe that our worries and frustration comes when we're not in the present, which means that you're thinking about that bugger or that asshole like from 5 minutes ago, and that's in the past. So we're not present, we're living in the past, right? He's here physically, but our mind is in the past. Or we're thinking about the future, like what am I gonna have for dinner, or traffic is gonna be so bad later, or like what's gonna happen to my business. So we're thinking about the future. And that causes frustration and anxiety. And so that's living in the future. And so it's very hard to be grateful when we're in the future because we're thinking a lot about worries. And even if it's something pleasant that we're thinking about in the future, it hasn't happened yet. And so it's just a false fantasy that we're living out anyway. And it's hard to be genuinely happy because if you're looking forward to something and you keep thinking about it and everything, it's hard to really focus on the fact on that you are here right now and you're eating whatever you're eating right now, or you're doing whatever you're doing right now. It's hard to appreciate that. So personally, I find that the more I'm able to just be present, whether I'm washing the dishes or whether like I'm folding clothes or whether I'm, I got a new plant, so pretty. I just spent time like wiping the leaves today, and I'm thinking like, wow, like wiping my fiddle fig tree, like I could rush through it and keep waiting, like just want to get it done, or I could be present and do it properly and enjoy the process, When will you publish another book? Maybe when I write it. Maybe I'll write another book next year. I don't know. I feel like it's not about trying to write more books. I feel like it's about the journey of growth. So when I do have something that I feel is important to share, I will write that book. But right now, what I feel is important is a program on relationship, because I've learned so many things recently on understanding your partner and communicating your needs. I feel like I've learned so much about that recently, and I want to make a program out of it, because it's not just about reading, it's about like the application. We have to be able to apply that in real life. Naru, when we get down, how do we get up? Okay, when it comes to studying, I know a lot of you are mentioning about studying, and I think that you have to understand where the pressure is coming from. Is it from your parents? Is it self-pressure? And why? Why is it so stressful? And I do think that it is important to apply ourselves and to do our best. And I think that we have to have some sort of perspective, strong perspective on what doing our best means. Like, don't beat yourself up. When you feel down, and it's okay, it will pass. Like, don't stress and don't get so frustrated with yourself based on a future that has not happened yet. And that's what it means when you're worrying about your studies, And I am a huge proponent of like being present and also being trying your best. There's nothing beyond your best, and you'll know whether you've done your best, Nadia, it's such a cute quote. Okay, if you're still in school, you still should read this. This will help you understand how to lift yourself up when you feel down. Okay. Okay, whose comment have I missed? Beth, hi. Oh no, don't be sad. The link is not functioning. I think this live chat link is not functioning. I gotta check on it. But you can just go to Amazon or Book Depository and get my book. You can Google Be Happy Always by Xandria. It'll pop up everywhere. There is audible.com, there's audiobook, there's ebook. You can read it on your Kindle, you can get it on Amazon, you can get the physical copy. Yep. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I'm glad you like my plant. Right, so since it's already an hour, I'm gonna head off soon, but before I do, if I missed your comment and you feel like you want some perspective on what you wrote, can you just repeat it so that I will read through it now? Like I'll look at it now. Let's see. Gaji, G-A-G-E. How do I pronounce that? At work, I'm from beginner to becoming one of the best, but my other co-workers aren't improving, which frustrate me. Normally, I just change jobs because I'm afraid to teach them. What would you do? I think I would examine, if I'm you, why I'm afraid to teach my colleagues. Yeah. I think it's important to understand why are we afraid to teach other people. Patrick says, interesting how you only read fiction. Yes. Power of Now is an amazing book, I have no doubt. Yuri speaks very highly of it. If it's the only non-fiction book you read, I will definitely keep that in mind. Java here says, I find it difficult to communicate with my partner, even telling her my needs, it doesn't work out. So looking forward to your sharing and learning. Yes, I completely understand what you mean. Telling somebody our needs is really not enough. We have to learn how to be okay with sharing what we need without expectations, and also trying to like understand our needs, like what needs are like true needs that we have to have in our lives, and what needs are needs that we've adopted from our parents, from family conditioning, from society's conditioning, that we actually can discard. You know what I mean? And whatever it is, at the core of everything, we have to be able to understand our partner and communicate our needs. It's not just about telling our partner what we need, it's about being able to understand our partner and also what they need, you know? And so working on the program, we'll keep you guys posted. Mimi, I think your question is great about anger. How can we stop feeling angry? Like when I get angry with someone, it's hard to cool down, and after that I remember about the anger again and keep feeling angry over and over again. I think it's, you need to understand why you get angry. Hi Jennifer, sending love to you. Chapter 4, you have to read my book. Chapter 4 is about letting go of anger and what doesn't serve us. Chapter 4. This whole chapter is on anger, and you will find it extremely helpful because anger needs like a deeper examination and reflection and understanding of ourselves. Why? You see, to be able to let go of anger, we have to first see whether we want to be angry. A lot of the times, anger is hard to let go of because deep down inside, we think that being angry is good. And we want to stay angry because we feel justified and we feel right. And so before you can even learn how to not be angry, you have to understand how you see anger and come to some sort of like peace with or understanding of like what you don't want or why you don't want anger in your life, right? Let's see. Of course, Beth, you are most welcome. So, okay, I'm gonna head off now. Yuri and I will be back tomorrow and we'll be chatting with you guys. If you enjoy this kind of chat direction, let me know. Or if you would prefer to have like a specific topic, also let me know. Sometimes I'm not sure whether you prefer, you know, just like an open discussion where you can just ask more questions and I can just answer them and give you my perspective, or you prefer like a specific topic. So let me know. You can send me a DM specifically on this, right? See you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic Wednesday and be happy always. Bye.